this huge misrepresented story that's been driving me crazy for months now. Regardless of who you talk to, Democrat or Republican, it seems that all commentary about the economy is positive. The unemployment rate is at an all-time low. The stocks appear to be riding that bull market wave, except in the last week when Trump's trade war resulted in some market volatility. Nonetheless, Democrats argue that Trump is just enjoying the hard work Obama put into improving the economy while he was in charge. On the other hand, Republicans congratulate the genius businessman president who inconveniently went bankrupt 6 times before getting elected. But the truth is, they both kind of sucked at significantly improving the lives of those in the middle class. A look at what's really happening with the US reveals stagnant wages, underemployment, and Americans carrying more debt than at the height of the financial crash. Look, I'm not some anti-Trump lefty who's just pretending like wages have been stagnant. Even Jerome Powell, the new head of the Federal Reserve, had to acknowledge it when he was asked about lackluster wage growth, even with an impressively low unemployment rate. Here's what he had to say.
In a world where we're hearing lots and lots about labor shortages, everywhere we go now we hear about labor shortages, but where's the wage reaction? So it's a bit of a puzzle. I wouldn't say it's a mystery, but it's a bit of a puzzle.
Wages have actually been stagnant for decades, which further demonstrates that the whole notion of trickle-down economics does not work. We've been waiting for corporations to trickle on us for decades. Powell had that press conference more than 6 months after Trump's massive corporate tax cuts went into effect. Those tax savings were supposed to translate to higher earnings for Americans. But if your boss hasn't trickled down on you yet, you're not the only one experiencing the magic of corporate greed. Data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis shows that wages are growing at nearly half the rate they did in the 1970s. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also notes that in 2017, 80.4 million workers ages 16 and older were paid hourly rates, representing 58.3% of all wage earners. Now, 1.8 million of those workers are being paid at or below minimum wage. An annual report by the National Low Income Housing Coalition indicates that there is nowhere in the country where someone working a full-time minimum wage job can afford to rent a modest 2-bedroom apartment, not even in Arkansas, and that is one of the cheapest places to afford housing. And a study by the Federal Reserve Board found that 40% of Americans can't afford an unexpected $400 expense. Look, every once in a while, the media highlights a story about an American who works so incredibly hard, but still can't provide a middle-class lifestyle for his or her family.
Across the country in Kansas City, we meet Terrence Wise, another American who believes you build a life on hard work. He leaves home at 5:30 and returns 16 hours later. He records the beginning of his day.
Just like everybody in America, heading to work, trying to take care of my family.
Morning. How you doing?
When we meet him, he has 2 jobs at fast food franchises, one at Burger King, a second at McDonald's. It takes him 8 buses to commute to and from his work.
There's 3 more buses to go.
The May jobs report that Trump keeps bragging about isn't applaudable when highlighting some of the details. So let's do that. In May, average hourly earnings for all employees on private non-farm payrolls rose by 8 cents. Over the year, average hourly earnings have increased by 71 cents. Average hourly earnings of private sector production and non-supervisory employees increased by 7 cents. Wow, what a big improvement. Again, the unemployment rate is impressively low. No one can deny that. But no one seems to look into the quality of these jobs either. The latest Bureau of Labor Statistics jobs report from May indicates that there were 5 million involuntary part-timers in March. In fact, the May jobs report found that the average work week for Americans is only 33 hours. That's just an average, but it shows you how much underemployment is a growing problem, a common problem for American workers. In 2006, despite a higher unemployment rate than today, there were 1 million fewer part-timers. Then there's the overabundance and instability of temporary jobs, which have substituted long-term employment with benefits. Since the economic collapse, temporary jobs have been on the rise. According to the Department of Commerce, jobs in the temporary help services industry reached an all-time high of 2.9 million in May of 2015, accounting for 2.4% of all private sector jobs in the US economy. The Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that in 2017, as many as 40% of US workers were part of this gig economy, scraping by with multiple temporary gigs just to make ends meet. So most Americans aren't noticing a big jump in their disposable income, but they are noticing a Herculean jump in their debt. Total consumer debt now sits at $3.824 trillion. This includes credit card debt, auto loans, and student loans, but not mortgage-related debt. We've experienced a 47% jump in consumer debt since the height of the economic collapse. That's disastrous when you add stagnant wages to the mix. And so let's end on stocks. Are stocks really doing well? No, they're not. If you take a look at the real economy and you look at the real value of product, you'll notice that it's overinflated. What these corporations are doing is taking their huge tax savings and buying their own stocks to artificially inflate their value. So we need to take a deeper dive and look at what's really happening with the economy, because you will notice a shrinking middle class. And we can't let that continue happening. We can't allow the mainstream media to take hold of this false narrative of economic improvement when homelessness is on the rise and so many Americans are still suffering. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed my show, No Filter, and I actually film it every single Monday at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. So you can check it out live on YouTube TV, just search for TYT Network's YouTube TV channel, or you can check it out in podcast form on iTunes later. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check me out on No Filter.